Cronkite News starts now.
Welcome to this Monday edition of Cronkite News. I'm Tyler Mannion.
And I'm Danielle Malkin. Thank you for joining us.
Arizona has begun releasing more detailed demographic information about the spread of the coronavirus.
The information released on Sunday suggests a heavy toll among the elderly, men, and Native Americans. Health officials also released infection data zip code, along with the statewide availability of healthcare resources, including ventilator breathing machines.
Deaths linked to the pandemic increased to 122 statewide as confirmed infections rose to 3,702. Men accounted for 63% of the death toll.
The Navajo Nation had their number of COVID-19 cases spike 17% over the weekend. The nation's largest Native American tribe is located in parts of northern Arizona, New Mexico, and Utah. The tribe is taking extra measures to combat the spread, including setting up a curfew. Members must now stay in their homes from 8 p.m. to 5 a.m., and those who go to work must have official identification and a letter with employer contact information for verification in order to travel. The Arizona National Guard is also lending a hand to the Navajo Nation. They helped provide and transport 200 personal protective items to members and met with health officials to see how they could further assist during the outbreak. Arizona Governor Doug Ducey thanked both the Arizona and New Mexico National Guard for their assistance.
The coronavirus has closed businesses, cost jobs, and hit entire industries, including one you may not think of. Dairy farmers say as they've watched markets dry up, they've been forced to dump millions of gallons of milk. And it's no different for farmers in Arizona, as Cronkite News reporter Kara Harris tells us.
Fourth-generation Arizona dairy farmer Wes Kerr calls it the spring flush, the time of the year when his cows are producing more milk than ever. But this spring, there's no place to sell that milk because of the coronavirus.
Typically, April is that peak production month. And so it was just really a worst case scenario to have this disruption, specifically this time of year.
Dairy farmers across the U.S. have seen commercial sales drop as restaurants are hit by COVID-19, and groceries struggle to handle the extra milk. And in Arizona, farmers lost one of their main markets when Mexico stopped sending inspectors north of the border.
When we realized that Mexico was shutting their border down with the inspectors not being available to come and inspect the shipments, that was what really was the hangup, because our buyers in Mexico were eager to have the product.
That oversupply has left farmers with no choice but to start dumping their milk down the drain.
Once we get the total amount of milk dumped, that's being tracked daily, but it's many hundreds of thousands of pounds of milk being dumped.
In fact, it's more than that. United Dairymen of Arizona chairman Craig Caballero said in a statement that to date, our farm families have poured over 9 million pounds of excess raw milk and over 1 million pounds of cream down the drain. That much milk could supply every household in the city of Phoenix, Arizona, with 2 gallons of milk per week for 9 weeks. Groceries are struggling to store all that milk, even as some stores limit the amount of milk people can buy.
I would just encourage folks, if they go into a grocery store and they see the signs of limiting different dairy products that are still up, I would encourage them to just maybe try to talk to the store manager and see what their time frame is for removing those signs.
Governor Doug Ducey is pushing grocery chains to lift limits on dairy purchases, and the state is working to partner with food banks to get these products out to those who need it most.
Are having win-win situations happening, and hopefully will continue on throughout this crisis, because really I think we are heading in a better direction, but we're by no means totally out of the woods. This is still an ongoing, moving situation, but thankfully it is looking much better.
Kerr, a fourth-generation Arizona dairyman, says his farm milks about 1,100 cows 3 times a day. He says the challenge now is finding markets like food banks and groceries to take it.
All of the farms have plenty of milk, and so it's just trying to divert channels to different channels to be able to get that to the consumer now that all of our habits have been forced to change.
And things may get better next week when the Mexican Ministry of Health could resume administrative tasks, which include sending dairy inspectors north of the border.
As time goes on, we are starting to get a lot of things done in place that is going to help solve multiple problems all at the same time.
Kara Harris, Cronkite News.
Human rights groups across Arizona hosted a car rally Friday at a detention center in Eloy, saying the migrants held at the facility are at a serious risk.
With each honk, activists sent a loud message to the federal government, demanding immigration and customs enforcement release the migrants to help stop the spread of COVID-19. They say at least 2 migrants in the detention center tested positive for the virus.
How do we practice social distancing when you're in a cage, when you're detained?
It's just a horrendous thing that cries out for anybody who's got any sense of humanity.
They're living in very crowded quarters, and they're at high risk because they're crammed together in a detention center with a very uncertain future.
In a statement, ICE said they're committed to ensuring the welfare of all those in the agency's custody and ensuring detained individuals reside in safe, secure, and humane environments under appropriate conditions of confinement. Due to the unprecedented nature of COVID-19, ICE is reviewing cases of individuals in detention who may be vulnerable to the virus, utilizing CDC guidance along with the advice of medical professionals. ICE may place individuals in a number of alternatives to detention options.
As people are asked to stay home to stop the spread of COVID-19, what about people who don't have a home? Cronkite News reporter Madison Atkinson found out what's being done to serve those suffering from homelessness throughout the valley.
St. Vincent de Paul has been in the valley for 70 years and is continuing their service to feed, clothe, house, and heal the homeless community during this time.
To-go meals that are coming out of our 5 dining rooms across the valley. We're doing take-home activity kits for kids.
The organization has limited the number of people gathering together, and every hour they are sanitizing their surfaces.
In our resource center, we've actually taped off where people should stand that kind of 6 feet apart as they're waiting to come into the center.
St. Vincent de Paul has seen many acts of kindness within the community. As of last week, 70% of their food service was in partnership with local businesses.
Local businesses and restaurants who are themselves going through a tough time right now, donating their leftover or excess food to our dining rooms and the families that we serve.
St. Vincent de Paul is just one of many organizations working in the community to help the most vulnerable.
The Human Services Campus is open. We're still open 365 days a year to serve single adults experiencing homelessness. We still have over 800 people coming to the campus every day seeking shelter, food, healthcare, all of the other services that we typically offer.
The Human Service Campus has added hand washing stations, more restrooms, and repurposed places to add more shelter.
We are an essential service, and we're serving a very vulnerable population that is very resilient, and in some ways this is just another thing for them to live through. At the same time, it changes how we operate because we are creating that distance between people.
Schwabenländer said they are taking the time to assess their guest health before they enter the camp.
There's always this dualism of despair and hope. These are people in crisis that we're serving. They're often at their worst moment in their life, and we're doing everything we can to help them stabilize and get connected to a permanent home.
People throughout the valley are continuing to help the homeless during this pandemic. One homeless advocate has been delivering sanitation supplies to the homeless living on the streets in downtown Phoenix for 2 months.
From the beginning, it was the basics of what could be easily acquired, so soaps and the components of hand sanitizer and wipes when there was no toilet paper available.
Venable continues to give out masks and gloves to the homeless community. Madison Atkinson, Cronkite News.
The Human Service Campus and the Society of St. Vincent de Paul are accepting donations at this time. You can check out their websites for more information on how you can get involved with helping the community. It's the start of a new work week, so what can you expect when it comes to your weather?
Millard Thomas is standing by with a look at our 8-day forecast. Millard?
Yes, Tyler, I have the 8-day forecast coming up for you in just a few minutes, but first, let's start with your Monday evening planner. So, you guys start to get off work around 6 o'clock. The temperatures are going to be sitting about 76 degrees. They're going to drop all the way to 74 around 8 o'clock and then 71 around 9 o'clock. So, if you want to go out for a walk after dinner, still practicing safe social distancing is going to be a perfect night for that. Now, how about when you wake up tomorrow in Arizona? Temperatures are going to be about 62 degrees around 8 a.m. They're going to spike all the way to 79 around the 3 o'clock hour. But don't worry, those temperatures are going to cool just a little bit to 73 around the 8 o'clock hour tomorrow. Now, how about the rest of northern Arizona? You're going to see mostly mid-50s and lower 60s, with Kingman kind of being that hot spot at 64 degrees. You're going to see 47 out in Flagstaff and 57 out in Page. Now, how about your next 8 days? We're going to see 81 on Tuesday, 83 on Wednesday, and those temperatures are going to climb to hits a peak of 88 on Thursday, then back down to 85 on Friday before going to 82 on Saturday, 86 on Sunday, and then with the new week, we'll be back to 88 on Monday, and then 86 on Tuesday. So we'll be in the 80s all week, with the lows being upper 50s to lower 60s. Millard Thomas, not from the Cronkite News Weather Center, but from my very own bedroom.
We are in a terrible moment, an unprecedented moment, and I know we share the understanding that we've got to go forward right now and out of this in an unprecedented way to address the terrible pain that so many of our fellow Americans are feeling. So today I am asking all Americans, I'm asking every Democrat, I'm asking every independent, I'm asking a lot of Republicans to come together in this campaign to support your candidacy, which I endorse, to make certain that we defeat somebody who I believe, and I'm speaking just for myself now, is the most dangerous president in the modern history of this country.
Bernie Sanders has officially endorsed Joe Biden for president. The two appeared together this morning on a live stream to make the announcement. The Vermont senator said they both have agreed to form task forces to work on policy matters. Biden said, quote, "I think people are going to be surprised that we are apart on some issues, but we're awfully close on others."
Mark Kelly is well known in Arizona. He's an astronaut, the wife of former Congresswoman Gabby Giffords, and a candidate for U.S. Senate. He's also the author of a children's book alongside his twin brother, Scott.
This month, to help inject some humanity into the chaos of coronavirus, the Kelly brothers took to Instagram to share some of their experiences in space with their youngest fans. Cronkite News reporter Melanie Porter found out how the brothers are using virtual events to connect with kids all around the world.
Malcolm is a 6-year-old living in British Columbia, Canada. His dream is to become an astronaut.
Thinking about heading to space and building my own space rockets.
His mom says that Malcolm's love for space started by reading books.
Grandma had picked him up this book of Vehicle Encyclopedia was, I think, what it was. And it had like the big Apollo rocket in it. And from that point on, he was like, I want to see that.
The family stumbled on Scott Kelly's documentary about his year in space and have been hooked on the children's books written by him and his brother, also an astronaut. Mousetronaut and My Journey to the Stars are among some of the books they've written. Hundreds of people tuned in to hear the brothers' live reading of Mousetronaut on Instagram Live. The book was written by Mark Kelly, and he hopes the event pushes kids to read and pursue their dreams of space exploration.
Kids get inspired by stories about space, and tends to be one of those careers that a lot of little people are very interested in. So hopefully this will give them a little bit more inspiration and also give the parents a little bit of a break.
NASA is sending along some special guests.
He knows that space can be a unifying factor during stressful times.
My 4 trips to space is I've looked at the planet from outside, from inside the spacecraft, but looked at Earth. You really get this strong sense how we are all in this together.
And he hopes that kids like Malcolm will see that space exploration is just one flight away. Melanie Porter, Cronkite News.
We want to hear from you about other acts of humanity during this crisis. If you or someone you know is stepping up to help others, please email us at cronkitenews@asu.edu.
That's it for Cronkite News. From our homes to yours, thanks for watching.
For Arizona news updates throughout the day, follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and find us online at cronkitenews.azpbs.org.